Tonight we're going to talk about the paradigm of addictions. And so I want to ask you some questions, and we're going to discuss about some of the critical factors that lead people to addictions. And I'm sure you've heard lots of things, so let's talk about that. Just tell me off the top of your head some of the reasons that you think people choose to have an addiction or end up having an addiction. Just
They don't want to face uncomfortable truths in their life.
so as an avoidance.
Avoidance, yeah.
Emotional issues.
Emotional issues. Okay, what else? Yes.
Hereditary.
Hereditary, so you think it's genetic.
Could be.
Okay. Okay, what else? Any other thoughts? Yes.
Quick gratification.
Quick gratification. Okay. Okay. Any other thoughts? You like these ideas up here on the board? Do you think that they describe all the reasons as to why people choose or get involved in an addiction?
Use it as an excuse.
As an excuse. Okay. Yes.
An escape from reality.
To escape reality. Okay? Nice. Superficial answers. Answers that you've all heard. And you guys know I run Tough Group, right? Those of you who've had my group. So these are really nice superficial answers. These are the answers that society tells us. These are the answers that you guys have all heard. So now we're going to dig deeper. So I'm going to erase this list because this is your quick response. This is the gratification, reactive type personality process. But it's not why. So now we're going to go deeper. Why do you think people get involved in addiction? You use such things as quick gratification to emotionally not have to deal with things. Could be genetic. Now go deeper. Think for a moment, every single one of you in this room, and every single one of you in this room has addictive tendencies. There's not a person in this room that does not have addiction tendencies. Now, I am not saying that you have an addiction. Notice the difference. One of the things I do not like is negative identifiers. When I run groups and people stand up and say, "Hi, I'm an alcoholic," I say, "Hi, who are you?" "Well, I'm an alcoholic." I'm like, "No, you're not." We never use negative identifiers to lift anything. You may have an alcoholic problem. I will give you that. But you are not a negative identifier. So all of you in this room tonight, I want you to remember that. You are not something negative, because when we focus on negativity as identification, we give ourselves permission to fail. I'm going to say that again. When we focus on negative identification as to who we are, we give ourselves permission to fail. It is an excuse. "Hi, I'm an alcoholic, therefore I can drink, therefore I don't have to change, therefore this is who I am." "Hi, I am a person who has an alcoholic problem. A problem can be solved. A person cannot." Do you understand the difference? Anybody here not agree with me? Because if you don't agree with me, then you're in the wrong group. I'm just kidding. Okay? Never, please never identify yourself with a negative identification in any aspect. Give me an example. All day long, women say in the mirror, "I am fat." Great. You are going to be fat for a long, long time. But if you say such things as, "I have a weight problem," you can solve a problem. Okay? We do it way too often in society. That's why we have depression, anxiety, addictions. We look at ourselves from a negative identification standpoint, and that is not effective. Okay? Yes?
Say it one more time.
We look at ourselves primarily from a negative identification process, and that is not effective. We have to flip it to a positive identification. Okay? All right, so now think about this. Why do you think people have tendencies to have addictions? Yes.
Because we don't know who we are.
Oh, interesting statement. Nice comment. Let's think about that for a moment. Because we don't know who we are. Any of you Want to add to that? Think about that. We don't know who we are. Okay?
I think what I mean by that is we don't know who we are in a spiritual sense. So we look for validation or something outside of ourselves to make us feel better about the turmoil inside ourselves.
Very good. You've opened up the door. So let's start. We're going to discuss the addiction paradigm. Every single human being has a spiritual side. Now, I am not going to teach religion tonight or any particular faith, but I want you to understand that as a person, we have a physical side of us and we have a spiritual side of us. Every single human being does. Now, the physical side has to have food and water to survive. If you don't have food or water, you die. How many of you have ever had this wonderful phenomenon to say, I'm going to go on a diet tomorrow? Any of you ever done that? Now, what is the first thing your body says to you the minute you say that?
I'm hungry.
I'm hungry. I'm going to go eat a dozen donuts. I'm going to eat everything I want today because I can't have it tomorrow, right? Because your body understands it has to have food and water. And the minute you begin the denial process and it catches on to that, it wants immediately what it knows it's not going to have. Follow me? Now, let's take it into the spiritual side. If our physical body has to have nutrients to survive, the spiritual side of us has to have what?
Food and water.
Okay, you can call it food and water, but what? What is that?
Prayers. And
It has to have a spiritual enlightenment process. You have to feed both the light process and the physical food process. And when either of these get out of balance, you put yourself in an addiction process. Do you follow? When either of these are out of balance, you put yourself in a process of addiction. Because one of your sides is going to seek balance. And it wants it quick. When you are emotionally out of balance, which is the light, the spiritual side, you may use drugs to try to bring it back into balance. When you are physically out of balance, whether you have some ADD tendencies, you have some mental health tendencies, whatever's going on, you're going to use a substance to bring it back into balance. Am I confusing anyone tonight? You all follow? So, the critical factor in understanding addictions is understanding this paradigm. And we focus so much on what do you need to fix, or this is genetic, or this is how I make excuses. But I want you to take some time and process both sides of you. You process both sides of you. Because if either is out of balance, we come to a compensation mode, an addiction paradigm mode. And we think the feeding of the addiction is going to make one of these two sides feel better. And they don't. Temporarily, they do. But long term, they don't. And we do this. We all do this. That's why I said at the beginning of this, every single person in this room has addiction tendencies, because every single one of us swing. Every single one of us swing in and through these imbalances and balances times. Okay? So the first question you have to ask yourself is, how do I balance my spiritual side? What does that look like for me? Because my spiritual balance side for Christy is different than all of your spiritual balance side. So how do you find this? How do you find this spiritual balance side? Give me some thoughts.
Through prayer, meditation.
Okay, so through prayer and meditation for you. Okay? Very good.
And knowing yourself.
By coming to know yourself. Okay? That's kind of a generic terminology. What does that mean?
Exploration. Going to different religious aspects and finding what works for you.
Okay, so for you, you're implying that a faith, a religion will help bring this spiritual side into balance.
Possibly.
Possibly, okay. What else?
Music.
Music. Okay, music can
That
definitely,
makes you uplift you.
okay, so music for you can be uplifting on this spiritual paradigm. Yes.
Last time you were here, you emphasized on core values and trusting yourself. So,
that would come here on this side for you?
yeah.
Core values and trust. Okay? So my assignment tonight for everybody in this room is to identify this part of you. Take some time, think about it, write it down, and identify this side of you. And I mean crystal clear identification. I don't want you to just go and say, oh, I need to pray. Everybody prays, so what? Be specific. Prayer for me is what? What is prayer to you? I need faith. Great, the whole world needs faith. I need this type of faith. I need music. Great, headbanger music, country western music. What are we talking when we say that? So that's your assignment tonight, number one, on this addiction paradigm, is I want you to identify the spiritual side. Okay? As specific and as detailed as you can possibly get it. And no one is going to judge this. I don't care if you decide that you're a Christian and suddenly feel like you need to be a Jew. Okay? What I want you to do is be true to what you know rings true to you. Now, how many of you have ever had those moments of deja vu? Raise your hand. We've all had them, right? Like we've been here before. We've done this before. The best way I lead, guide, and direct people on a spiritual journey is it's going to feel like you knew this before. It's going to feel like it just rings true. And you're going to feel safe. And that safety is different for every person in this room. But if you want to know, how do I know, Christy? How do I know when I have found this side for me? That is my best litmus test, is it will ring true. Okay? Now, the other side of us, I said, is the physical side. Okay? That is a critical factor that has to be taken care of. I am a biker. I cycle. And last Saturday, I made the wonderful decision to ride a 75-mile ride with a 25-mile hill climb. I was really dumb in that decision. And when I was at the last 2 miles of that hill climb, I wanted to quit. I'll be honest. I thought, I am not going to make it to the top of this hill. I had already ridden 40 miles, and I was at the last. Okay? I was physically exhausted. I was physically tired. I was physically hot. And I like cycling. And when I thought at a moment I could not make it, I made a phone call to a friend. And I finished my race because the person on the other end of the phone told me I could do it. That physically I had prepared for this, and physically I was ready. Even though I was struggling and it was hard, the person I called reminded me that I had taken the preparation, I had done what needed to be done, and if anybody could finish the race, I was going to finish it. So I finished it, and I got to the top, and I got off my bike, and there was this little lady that came up behind me several minutes later on her bike, and when she got off, she said, "That is the hardest thing I've ever done in my life." And I almost agreed with her. I mean, it was a tough climb, okay? But physically, I had processed this. I didn't start by just riding a 75-mile race that day. I get up every morning and typically ride 20 to 25 miles, and on Saturdays, I do a 50 to a 70-mile ride, okay? So I have done the process that gave me a chance to ride this race. Now, I don't know that I prepared as much as I was supposed to, but I thought I had, okay? So when you're looking at this physical side, that's what I want you to see, the preparation on the physical side. Your body needs energy. It needs to be healthy. It needs to be fed appropriately. It needs to be taken care of. It doesn't mean you have to do what I do and cycle. Maybe you're a weightlifter, maybe you're a runner, maybe you're a person who likes to take walks. I don't know. But this physical side has to be nourished, taken care of, and you have to decide what that is. So that's the other assignment tonight in this addiction paradigm. I want you to each think about what physically matters to you. And I'm not talking looks. Hey, nobody in this room is a 10. Sorry, some of you might think you are, but nobody's a 10. None of us are, okay? So what I want you to think about is what is right for your physical being, okay? What's right for you physically? And when you can balance this side and this side, you decrease the addiction paradigm. Because you are full. And you don't need something that's not healthy. And when both of these come together, then emotionally, the healing and the soundness comes into play. Okay? And this is where the treatment process and being in a center and working with a counselor or a life coach comes into play, because the healing comes in as these two come into play. Okay? So the largest reason and the biggest reason for the addiction process in our lives is when we are out of balance. And sometimes, yes, medication has to be used to help bring people in balance, okay? But I want you to look at both of these sides as your assignment.